Good morning. You got red, Rod's with the white.
Yeah.
I'm going straight madman with the old fashioned.
Welcome to the Wine Men Wrestling Podcast.
The Wine Man Con. Before we dig in, I know I caught the tail end of what you're talking about, Rod. I feel like if we're going to incorporate new things, we need to come up with an umbrella name. Or do we just use the Wise Men and call it that?
You're talking about transitioning from talking about wrestling to other stuff?
Yeah. I feel like our Twitter should be like the umbrella, Brian.
Okay.
That's something that we can talk about. Because I have an idea for the umbrella being the Wiseman Podcast Federation.
Yeah.
And our show more or less not being the only show that we do and also not the only show that we produce.
Okay.
Actually got a couple of actual individuals that want to do things that may fall under that branding. So,
all right.
Nice.
And you know, even with this show, we're going to reduce the amount of shows that we do.
Okay.
To kind of leave room open for other things.
Makes sense.
So, if you're thinking about transitioning from, from my vision, it's like 2 shows, and then in that case, if we remain consistent, 1 week we'll be doing the Wise and Wrestling Podcast. Next week we'll be doing that other podcast.
Right.
That makes sense.
That does.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
big things in store for the Wise Men Wrestling Podcast as we are here for the newest episode with you guys. Drinking wine, feeling fine, staying our asses inside because the governor tells us to.
Friday behavior. Over 30 style.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Make sure you take your vitamins.
Can't take them with alcohol, man. I'm screwed.
I took them earlier, so they don't interfere with what's going on right now.
That's what's up.
How's everybody's week?
Yeah. It's over. It wasn't bad. It was just like it flew. So it's like bam, gone. So it is what it is. So,
mine was okay. I mean, funny story. So I was one of the fortunate individuals to get both consoles, the PS5 and the game, the Xbox. Tuesday, the Xbox was supposed to be here, and I ended up motherfucking FedEx on the phone twice because they put the door tag on a door that doesn't have a handle, has the landlord's last name clearly printed on it, and no doorbell, and said that nobody answered. So when I called them, I told them that I wanted to have it sent. I'll pick it up from the facility. I drove my ass out to Niles. Felt kind of like a stalker. Gave up and said, what?
So did you go to the Skokie one by Eli's?
No, I went to the one right behind Village Crossing because that's the facility that it was picked up from. I didn't know it was just a security guard shack.
Yeah, that's what I say. Like, no.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wanted my shit.
My sister-in-law works at the FedEx in Skokie.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting, but I was able to, just exercise a little patience, and then, Lord and behold, both of them came Wednesday. Yeah, and then I went off and bought a new TV.
By accident, don't forget, by accident.
I accidentally bought an OLED 4K TV to be able to.
No. Allegedly.
No, allegedly. Yeah, it's allegations in the statement post.
Until we actually see the TV, see that you bought it.
Oh no, it's sitting on top of the desk where the gaming monitor used to be. Yeah, I'll show it to you after the podcast. I mean, I showed Rod. He just started laughing. I was like, "Yeah, that's the response I was expecting to get."
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've really taken to this remote learning thing, remote working thing. How's your week been, Rod?
Crazy. So I got a guy, well, one of my work partners that is currently on co-vacation right now.
Ooh.
And the situation was handled safely, but it wasn't handled properly. So it just created a lot of wackiness in my place of work. And it kind of falls square on our manager, our supervisor, you should say, and karma came from him on Wednesday or Thursday. I mean, Thursday being another day that I didn't have to work, and yeah, he came to work with severe coughing and wheezing. So it's just like
Life comes at you fast.
yeah, it's so wild how the company that I work for kind of treats this COVID thing now, where before it was so serious and now it's just like, eh.
Well, I think, I mean, and we've seen some things at I think all across where it's that fine balance now of taking it seriously but maintaining profitability.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no stimulus back money to, supplement anybody like having a lot of people out of work or, shutting shit down and all that stupid stuff. And, it's, like I think we all got that alert if you live in Chicago or even accidentally drove through Chicago like I did today. Get that alert saying, get your ass in the house while I'm stuck in traffic.
Right.
It's like, yeah.
I mean, it's just a testament to.
I'm just looking around like, I know all you fuckers ain't essential workers.
Hey, you know what? Remember, that's what I was saying. Driving around the city for the first 3 months of the pandemic, I was
Was a
giving
breeze.
everybody that you motherfucker look. I was like, yeah, you're not essential, bitch. Get home. Was that caramel macchiato fucking necessary, bitch?
Right. I definitely feel like at my gig, I'm dealing with more privilege than I am need. And yeah, I'm like trying not to let it get to me, but like I would like to be at home right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, especially the longer that we get into this, and I think the panic is going to get. I think it's going to escalate. The more they keep talking about pushing this vaccine. I mean, it's only everybody's going to sit there, and then now we're really going to see the privilege, right? Because they're saying that they're going to prioritize healthcare workers, the elderly, the ones that are sick. Okay.
Yeah, there's going to be an interesting dynamic that comes from that because you're going to have those obviously who want it and unfortunately won't be able to get it like at the first wave. And then you're going to get those people who don't want it but are put in positions where they're, being told it's mandatory. Like, in certain, and I think that's going to come professionally, not from the government. There's going to be certain jobs where they say, nah, you need to go, stick out your arm. And they're going to feel a certain way about that.
I think
and you're going to have to make a decision based on that.
I think all three of our positions are going to be ones that require that. And be interesting.
I think they're just going to slip it in Gerard's water fountain at work.
Don't drink the water at work.
Don't drink the water.
They're going to have to slip it in a cheeseburger or something. Because,
well, with all your Snapchats of how your lunches are sometimes, they'll get you. Oh,
Look at those suspicious new owners at Hibaritos Imas.
why are they wearing lab coats over there?
You know what I'm saying?
Like, yo, Puerto Ricans that got light skinned in a motherfucker.
Hey, Puerto Ricans are not just dark brown. We come in all colors. That's why they make so many emojis.
Winters is coming. Anyway.
The winters are coming. The blanquitos are out.
Goodness gracious.
So let's get to it, shall we?
I guess.
You sound so great.
I'm halfway through this class.
Episode 99.
Is it 99? Good.
99.
99. We've done this 99 times.
99 times. And our connection is still one.
So the first thing is like some baby news. So
Baby news.
before we go there, let me just send a special shout out to a couple of people who I know kind of check in on us every once in a while on support. So let me just shout out to my homeboy Dennis, and his wife Kayla, who just brought in a new daughter 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you all and God bless. Just got the announcement today. So I'd rather shout out somebody that I know.
Yeah.
Before I start talking about other babies.
Yeah. Got the Michael Jordan. It's like, we like your baby. No, fuck the other kids.
So yeah, you did a great job, guys, and salute to you.
Damn. Put that glass down pretty hard.
Becky Lynch is having a baby.
Excellent.
She's about
Yeah, they said middle of December. Middle of December, so good for her. That maternity shoot with her and Seth was really nice.
So what that means is,
Bye, Seth.
Yeah, that was nice. Tastefully done.
So that means we get Becky Lynch back for Royal Rumble.
No, she does the run in at the night after WrestleMania.
Okay.
It sounds like appropriate timing for me.
Which is why she'll be back at Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yo,
man, that first baby, man, mom stays home for a minute, man. She's in no rush.
Is it just me or
You definitely see Seth at the Royal Rumble, but I don't think you'll see Becky.
Sean, it sounds like you're drowning. Or it sounds like you're being integrated into the Matrix. You pick up the phone and you're trying to get
Matrix.
Yeah. Oh shit. But yeah, congratulations to. Is it gonna be it's the Lopez family, right? Colby. Congratulations.
Yeah.
They haven't
Colby
announced whether it's a boy
Lopez.
or a girl yet, right?
No.
I don't think they announced anything. I think we kind of. I think that we in the blogs kind of did the timetable on when she's due.
Yeah.
I think they really just want to keep their business to themselves.
You know, I mean.
Yeah, they have pretty much kept this private.
Mm-hmm.
I will give them credit for not bringing her up for this entire time.
Yeah, on television and everything. Yeah,
because WWE likes to bring anything into a fucking storyline that'll sell something, and this is like the one line they wouldn't cross, which is cool, which is surprising because WWE brings up everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like how they exploited Maria's pregnancy, was just embarrassing, but they allowed Becky to have her time and let her do it, which is awesome.
Well, I mean, she was the hottest thing leading up to that King of the Ring, or not the King of the Ring, the Money in the Bank. So
yeah, that's why I felt like I was scared that they would do it because they would try to milk that popularity into something.
Yeah, and I can see them cringing at the fact that WWE is gonna even thinking about that. So Yeah, we'll just keep this quiet.
Mhm.
Absolutely. But since we go from one baby from keeping private and quiet to an accidental slip there, well, just a fraudulent.
I don't know if it's accidental
I
at
mean,
this point.
she was playing around saying that she was working on the announcement, but congratulations to Renee Paquette and John Moxley having a baby. Everybody's
I have this general feeling about John Moxley at this point that he's always drunk 24/7. And I wouldn't say he's drunk like stumbling drunk, but if you like watch the what's that Shot of Brandy episode he did, he literally seems like a guy that would literally sit there with like a glass in his like the Heyman Page was for a while, just always had a glass in his hand.
Sometimes some people need a little stimulant to get to the character that he wants to portray it for us.
It's like real life Stone Cold.
Maybe he enjoys playing Fortnite or Minecraft. Just needs a little shot of.
No, but good for them though. Good for them.
Congratulations to them.
And also congratulations. She announced she's gonna start a podcast, which I've been waiting on.
Yep.
Because that podcast is gonna be awesome.
Highly anticipated podcast, yes.
Yeah.
She's got the podcast. She's got the cookbook coming out. Or if it's not already.
Wait until February when she has that episode with Zelina Vega. Or Thea, should I say.
Thea Trinidad, sir. We call everybody by their names here.
Thea. Sorry, Thea.
Hey. I miss her already. But I watch her on Twitch, so I'm happy.
Right.
Better. It's unfiltered.
Straight up.
we get the real Thea. So we get what Aleister Black is scared of.
I blushed when I saw Soraya's, man. I was like, yo. I was like, man.
Right.
Clutch my pearls. Like, yo. Someone doesn't care about what's that, edict or whatever they call it. Soraya said kick rocks. I'm gonna still do Twitch.
And you know what? They didn't do a damn thing about it.
Right. Well, and it sucks because, if for those who haven't, paid much of attention or not in regards to the story, all of them had to give up their Twitch accounts for a period of time. So both Thea and Soraya had to start from zero when it comes to subscribers. So at the time, I think Soraya had like 20,000 and Thea said she had like 17,000, which is money. So now they're working their way back up. I think Soraya is about 10,000 and Thea is up to like 14, which is interesting. But there is one person that makes me pique my interest as it relates to a blatant double standard in this game. And that's the Undertaker.
Okay.
Undertaker currently has a Cameo account where he charges a G a pop. And he has a very active TikTok now.
Yeah, I did. I'm following it. I found it. I was like, who the hell is this? I realized that it's Michelle McCool just rising up from a grave. I'm like, oh.
But no, but Taker actually has his own too, though.
Like his own?
He plays around with his kids on it.
Oh, okay.
And he just did an episode of Hot Ones. So it's funny. Taker dude gets to do all this third-party shit.
I feel like that's all through WWE, though.
It's got to be because
I feel like that's the reason why he was pulled from the shows when he re-signed that contract.
I get, yeah,
because this is something he wanted to do, and I think
that I get, but the
perception of it, right?
The perception of it is what bothers me.
Yeah, the timing of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, there's no disputing that. I mean, it just looks mad sus, as the kids say.
Yeah,
mad sus.
Mad sus. I mean, up, down, down hasn't stopped, but WWE basically bought that out a while ago.
Oh yeah, and now they're making merchandise off of the New Day with their Gears 5 t-shirts.
Yeah,
I gotta play that.
And that was a big score for the New Day. I'm not even
yeah.
counting WWE. That was a big story for the New Day.
Mm-hmm.
Huge. They look awesome.
I mean, that's high
Kofi
right
doesn't
there.
really look like Kofi, but Big E looks fucking fantastic.
Yeah, it's okay.
Not all the face scans are gonna.
You know, Kenny Omega's taking notes though.
Oh yeah,
Kenny Omega's taking notes. He's like, oh, they got a gear spot. Okay,
it's cool.
all right, cool.
Hold
You
my
got a
beer.
gear spot. You got a gear spot. All right,
Hold my wings.
I get it.
I'm telling
I
you,
get
Kenny.
it.
I'm telling you,
I
Kenny.
get it.
Kenny, listen to me.
Okada was in Tekken 7.
Come on, Kenny.
Tekken Tag. I'm telling you, man.
Yo, I'm about to pop up as soon as this is over with the Tekken 7. So
Is that why you had internet issues? Because you were downloading the entire
no, I had internet
Xbox
issues because RC tried to take a shit on their entire Chicago customer service base,
Oh, I got it.
and then that delayed my Madden game. So I had to, deliver that ass whooping, and I did. I did. I won. So here we are.
Here we are.
Toast.
Here we are.
Toast to the greatest.
In news,
We have news.
WWE confirms they paid out $39 million in a class action lawsuit settlement regarding their deception of investors over the Saudi deal.
Okay.
Surprise, surprise.
The suit alleged that WWE executives deceived investors over their business dealings in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, inflating company stock and selling more than 280 million worth of shares at fraudulent inflated prices.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it is.
The suit, originally filed in March, had been consolidated by 6 different law firms. It alleged that WWE officials failed to disclose how the expected business agreements with Saudi Arabia for Middle Eastern TV deal had not been consummated. Basically, what this is implying is that WWE released news that they had a Saudi TV deal when they didn't have a Saudi TV deal, which caused stock to go up, and then sold all that stock at that higher price before everybody found out that they didn't have that deal yet.
So can we attribute to, because George Barrios is listed in this lawsuit, can we attribute to that? That's the reason why him and, was it Michelle, were dismissed from the company? Michelle Wilson?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you, because typically when you have a lawsuit, you put everybody on it that you can. You usually put the company and its executives on there as a accountable party, per se. And if I'm correct, Barrios and Wilson were more focused on the network than in like TV deals. So I'm not sure how much of their influence would have been involved in that particular scenario. But wasn't Barrios the one who was doing the investor calls though?
Yeah, he was.
So I mean, that's his fire to kind of sit on right there.
Yeah, because they were. I remember it was back in the end of January. That said the stock imploded amid him and Wilson's firings.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's interesting.
But that was based on their firing. But this basically states that before then, WWE let people believe that they had a Saudi Arabia TV deal when it had not been. As the words is consummated, which means nothing had been signed yet. And then as soon as everybody bought that stock at a higher price, WWE sold that shit. Like, here, go ahead, buy this at this higher rate before it all dropped off. So that's a pretty funky deal just to be slipping in a headline like that. Like, oh, like No, that just happened. But that's 2020 for you. Those aren't big stories in 2020.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's just not a big story.
We're gearing up for the season finale
Wild as hell. But of
2020, considering
oh,
reality show that we've been in this entire year.
you know what?
What's a little
What's
a little class action lawsuit settlement right before Thanksgiving? I'm sure.
I really hate that people are like blaming this on 2020 because what are you going to say in January 2nd?
I think we're still going to be screaming "fuck Donald Trump." Number one song for the last 3 weeks. Yo, you know what would be badass? And I'm sorry to dagger. If Biden does like the crib walk to fuck Donald Trump inauguration on the stage, or a
I
comment.
think he just needs to come out to "You Gonna Lose Your Job." I want that to be the new you name it, man. You about to lose your job.
Shout out to Sway the Remix God for that one. That was fantastic.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
It was. He does it again.
Yeah, I mean, strikes gold. Do we have any other news?
What we got?
Black Panther 2 is scheduled to start recording, filming in June.
And so does Deadpool 3.
Or July of 2021. So it'd be interesting to see where they go. Deadpool,
Deadpool 3.
The Last of Us has been ordered to a live action series at HBO.
Yep. Uncharted has finished shooting. That's interesting.
Sounds like a lot of movies I'm probably going to fall asleep on.
I think the biggest I won't call it the biggest news. I think it'll become bigger next year. But Wonder Woman going straight to HBO Max is a sneaky huge deal.
Well, they got the side deal with DC because they got all DC's exclusive content, including their TV.
But I'm just saying, from a blockbuster movie standpoint, all these studios have been holding these blockbuster movies just in a can, done forever. And now, Disney tried to sneak out Mulan. That failed the way they did it. But HBO Max saying we're gonna release this on HBO Max Christmas Day of all fucking days. I think that's gonna lend to what kind of year 2021 is gonna be, because there's so much shit in the can between what they've been holding back in 2020 and what they were already gonna release in 2021 that these companies just can't sit on them anymore, and they can't release all of them in the theaters either.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to start making these deals with these streaming services. Netflix is going to pay somewhere crazy $100 million to somebody to get a movie put out.
Or
I'm talking about one of these big blockbusters, not the stuff they've been producing on the side themselves.
Well, look at what Amazon Prime did. They just paid $125 for Coming to America.
Yeah,
and now
that's the stuff you're going to start seeing.
Yeah, I mean, as that industry repairs itself along with hospitality and everything else, yeah, I mean, that's going to be the short way to go. You get more
hospitality has a long way to go, though.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I was like, for the foreseeable future, I mean, you're going to see these news going regardless if we have a vaccine or not, because there's going to be a lot to go into that too, but it's going to be a while before that industry ever heals itself.
Yeah, and there's going to be things that don't come back. Like there's going to be straight up movie theaters that don't come back.
I hope it's the one on Western. I'm cool without that one.
Well, I mean, it was like we were talking about last week. Like, it's now is the time to show some loyalty to your fan bases.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think whatever you're willing to give away now in exchange for engagement, even though you're not going to make the money back, it's going to make a big difference later on down the line. You know what I'm saying? When people are ready to go back to the movie theaters or, pay that premium to, see your film. Damn, I lost my train of thought. Like you got to give us, that's just good business. Like, you know, when you get into a new business model, you got to give something away for free, essentially. You know what I'm saying? In order to kind of build trust and loyalty, and then later on down the line, you can charge them. You know, so I know a lot of people who instantly like between the Will Smith special that early this week and the announcement of Wonder Woman. Like I know that HBO Max subscriptions have gone up exponentially between those two things alone. So
and it's not overly expensive for HBO Max either. It's cheaper than fucking Netflix right now. Netflix just jumped up to what, $17.99? So I mean, this is what it is.
It's a thing.
So it'd be interesting. To this point, I hope that Wonder Woman does well.
I hope so too.
Because that means everything else that they've been holding, we're going to get.
Yeah, I mean, what we get Christmas, we get Wonder Woman, and we flip around in the new year, and we get what in May or is it March? Where we get the Snyder Cut?
It's January 25th.
Oh, it's January. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And he just announced that it's what 60 minutes or like an extra hour of unseen footage after they were talking about 5 minutes.
No, he actually brought people in to like do reshoots after what he already had.
Manganiello. I know that. So it should be interesting. Should be interesting. HBO's on fire from Lovecraft Country, and they just got nominated, didn't they, for the awards too?
Yeah.
So I mean, good things happen.
I don't pay attention, but they better have.
Do you need my HBO Max account so I can get you so you can see it?
I've seen it.
Oh, okay.
I got my hookups, yeah, but yeah.
Everybody else has got a profile. You need one? They're not like
December 18th. I'll take one.
What's that?
I'll take one. Send that over.
Oh, December 18th?
Send that over. I'll take.
I got you.
December 18th is coming to America.
No, it's in. They just announced it. It's May 6th. Or March 6th. They pushed it back.
They did? Okay.
Yeah, they just announced. They announced it on all the social media platforms. March 5th, 2021, on Amazon Prime. It'll be interesting. I'm not sure.
Oh, I didn't even know they made a they shot a Tomb Raider 2.
Yeah, they did.
She was a good one, wasn't she? She was a good Lara Croft, wasn't she? Alicia Vikander. Whatever. I can honestly
there's
say
a lot of good ones. Like I'm looking. I can't wait for Free Guy, Candyman.
That's gonna be
the 355 looks good.
Yeah,
9 days.
Candyman's gonna be dope. Speaking of Candyman,
there's a lot of I forgot about Morpheus, the new James Bond.
Yeah, 2021.
Fast and Furious.
At least
Bob's Burgers, the movie.
At least movie wise, 2021 is shaping up to be pretty good.
Right.
There's Doom, Black Widow.
They did announce what was it? You made me lose my train of thought. I forgot it.
No, it's happening a lot.
Tom and Jerry. Did you guys see that shit for the Tom and Jerry movie?
Yeah, I saw that.
What the fuck?
Yeah, well,
we
had a Sonic movie. We really didn't flinch.
Yeah, but that ended up being better than what we thought it was going to be. And they're actually working on a sequel, so it's like, all right. It was successful for them.
Like I admit, I just saw Detective Pikachu because I was waiting on my wife, and I was actually thoroughly entertained.
Yeah, that Pikachu movie was pretty good. I liked it. I like that kid. The actor. The one that was in the Get Down from Netflix. He's dope. Very good.
Yeah, he's all right.
I'm tripping. I'm tripping at the amount of movies that are supposed to come out next year. It's insane.
So we.
It can't all go in movie theaters. It can't.
Oh no, because it's gonna get like with the Batman got moved to 2022, so there's gonna be room to adjust, slide the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Florida's still gonna be able to see it in theaters though.
Yo, if you look at the map, Florida ain't doing that bad on the Corona side. That's the
No,
hilarious.
all these 9 months of talking shit about Florida, Florida got their shit together, and now Illinois is like the fucking episode.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it! Damn it!
Damn it.
Speaking of things that are just going unnoticed,
What's that?
Survivor Series is on Sunday,
It's
that's
a thing.
and that's it. That's the only time we need to talk.
I mean, I will say it's obvious that the WWE listens to this podcast because they changed like half of the gripes that we had. We said there was no direction. They like made up direction in like two of the belts. They switched the belt to Drew, which made sense.
Yeah, that's gonna be a better match.
Oh yeah,
Was
a
that
much
for
better
sure.
match.
did I
Drew
miss,
versus Roman is going to be a better match. Much better.
did I see that he came in a kilt with a sword?
Yeah.
That was badass.
Yeah. They did this whole, I mean, throughout the night, they did this nice thing where first he got, he was basically given, I forget, it was somebody else, basically told him, like, get your shit together. And he went and got the kill. And then after he got the kill, he bumped into Sheamus, who had the sword, and, like, blessed him with the sword. So then he did his Braveheart entrance. Unfortunately, from a fan perspective or Mark perspective more than anything else, once you saw that, we were like, okay, there's no way he loses this match now, right? Especially after you watched SmackDown last Friday, you kind of had that feeling already, like, okay, Drew shows up at SmackDown, talks shit to Roman. All right, I'll see you on Survivor Cities, buddy. Could have really made no sense for them to have him pop up on SmackDown if he wasn't going to actually be the challenger for Roman. But like you said, it's a much better match on paper than Roman versus Randy.
That's how it all starts. It's all good on paper.
Especially from a stylistic standpoint. It'll be interesting. Whatever they're doing with the Survivor Series elimination matches is trash. No one cares. We get to see Sasha versus Asuka, which got no real build to it either. Unless they do it tonight.
No, they somehow teamed the New Day and the Street Profits against Ziggler, Rude, and somebody else that I saw in the corner of my eye.
Oh, is that tonight?
Yeah, that's going.
It's happening on right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, the tag team match has had a decent match.
Profits turn heel on the New Day.
That tag team match is going to be probably the best match.
No, but I'm asking when do the Street Profits turn heel on a New Day? Like right now? Or
I don't know. I mean, we're in the 15th commercial break.
Right.
It's another fucking Undertaker promo.
15 commercial break.
Yeah.
Yo, they milking the hell out this Undertaker promo, man, boy. All the milk is out of that, man. It's wild. I don't know. I mean, again, not sure what.
How many final farewell? Oh, you guys talked about this the last one, right?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, this is the one that I missed.
Yeah,
I had to, how many
Yeah.
fucking farewells you got, bro?
Mm-hmm.
It's like he needs to have like the Phil Collins when Phil Collins was just on tour, and his tour's name was "I'm Not Dead Yet."
Straight.
Like, yeah, that'd be
Even
cool.
Michael Jordan said, "Dude, retire already."
MJ would still lace it up if he can get away with it.
I guarantee you, first day that Melo Ball walks into Charlotte's arena, only Michael Jordan's going to be in the middle of the court with shorts on. It's only going to be Mike. No one else is going to be in that fucking room. And you're going to throw the ball at LaMelo. He's going to tell him, check out, bitch. Let me show you what I did to your daddy.
That's what your daddy. Oh, you gonna beat me, huh, motherfucker? Averaging 4.6 points a game at Washington State. Okay, motherfucker.
That is the only thing that was entertaining in the whole NBA draft, just seeing him get drafted by Charlotte and him be happy about it.
Well, I mean, they wanted him. That's who they wanted him.
From a talent standpoint, you can't ignore it. And he's going to fill seats when they actually put seats back out there.
Yeah, shit. What are you talking about? They start playing in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's like some people. Yeah, the draft came before. Can you imagine that? We put our Christmas trees up before the draft actually happened.
Right.
No, the draft happened, and damn, the rings aren't even made for Lakers yet. I don't think the design's been created.
All these fucking that's what I don't fucking get. And I know we're rambling here. I just don't get these fucking GMs. Our goal is to win the championship. So why trade your best player to the fucking champions? For what?
What are we talking? Who are we discussing? What?
It was like Dennis Schroeder going to from OKC to Los Angeles.
But they gave up a pretty good deal for that Schroeder deal, though.
For what?
The Thunder are sitting on like 7 fucking drafts.
No, they're sitting. This is insane. Over the next 7 years, they're sitting about like 18 to 19 draft picks now.
Sick. And they said like next year's draft is supposed to be like insane.
Yeah, next year's draft is the one that everybody's banking on. That's why it's like, with the Bulls, everybody talking shit about Patrick Williams. It's like, this is the draft that you reach on. Next year's draft, you got to do your work because nobody's playing.
Gallinari just signed with the Hawks.
All right. Well,
Rod, he's got something highlighted. He wants to talk about something.
No, this is it. This is what we've been waiting for. We even had an offline conversation about this. So,
ooh, dun, dun, dun. Let's go, Rod.
Louis Benson.
Okay.
So earlier so I shared the statement with you guys, and then there was aftermath. So let's just talk about what Louis had to talk about. Louis presented himself.
I thought you were going to bring like a PowerPoint presentation.
PowerPoint presentation.
Busting out a whiteboard. It's like, oh shit. The floor is yours, Professor.
Go ahead, man. Sorry.
So Louis put out this statement. Louis Benson is a former employee of AEW. I guess he was primarily working on like video packages and things of that nature. At one point in time, he did kind of take over some producing duties when COVID hit. But he outlined his experience with AEW, and I'm guessing from his statement he currently has COVID, or
yes,
is COVID adjacent?
No. Now there are 2 groups of texts that he sent out. There's the first set that you sent us, and there's another one after that. Mm-hmm. He leads with a somewhat vague line about COVID, and I think that's what you're pointing to.
Right.
But at the end, he also gets more deep in his last paragraph. He says, if I don't survive COVID, which I have now, I want my story to be told.
Gotcha.
All right. So yes, that's a part of it.
So in his statement, he talks about how pretty much upon inception, upon being hired, he's told that basically there needs to be some distance between him and Cody, and he doesn't understand why. His bosses are telling him a lot of different things in terms of staying away and what to do if you ever see him. Don't speak to him. He doesn't really like you. Things of that nature. And he really kind of outlines this kind of horrible, almost trolling experience that he had pretty much the whole time he's been working there. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if he separated himself or he got fired eventually.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um,
Well, he doesn't actually say he got fired.
right.
He just says it wasn't worth working there anymore. So it almost seems mutual. Now we know there's contracts involved, so it may just be a situation where they didn't renew his contract. I don't know, and unfortunately, it's not made clear. And I'll let you continue before I kind of make my follow-up comment on it.
So, and then a lot of people had a lot of initial reactions to it in terms of, you know, more or less sided with the victim. In which case, I have no problem with that. But when I'm reading through this, well, first of all, let me just say, first of all, you know, if you're in a working position, and you know, you kind of, we know that in order to have a job, you do have to give up some integrity, especially at the beginning. Especially if the job that you're taking on perceivably is a dream job. And I would say for me, if I had a chance to work with a wrestling company, not WWE, but a wrestling company in any sort of capacity, that would more or less be on the level of that being a dream job, that I'm actually doing something that has something to do with something I enjoy. And to hear him kind of outline that, yeah, I kind of moved away from my friends and family to take this job, and you know, everything like that. You like, it's terrible on the surface when you're reading it, because you can kind of relate, because you do know you do have to give up some of that, and anything that's perceived to be a dream job, you probably give up a lot more integrity and dignity in order to kind of hold this job down. But you know, it's tough when you get put in that position. You know, when you know that your employer is taking advantage of you in terms of what you're dreaming about, in terms of your dreams, basically, and they know they really want you really want to be there, so they're kind of taking advantage of that. We talked about that ad nauseum in terms of like superstars over the course of this year, but you know, there's other people that work for wrestling companies that are probably also being taken advantage of in this way. With that being said, as I'm reading through this, it feels like, on the surface, it feels like there's some guys that he works with that are considered his bosses that are ribbing him. We know that ribs and practical jokes and even hazing takes place in this industry constantly, and it's not just relegated to just the talent. So when I'm reading through this is what it feels like to me. Just a practical joke that just kind of got way out of hand. But I also noticed that it was real interesting that Cody's name is being brought up so much in this statement, but yet the people who are actually relaying these messages to him, their names are not being brought up. So that kind of left a opening for questioning there. And then I think this was 2 days ago, and as the days progressed, and Twitter does what it does, they did a deep dive on his Twitter and really got to the heart of the matter. I believe we kind of got another side of the story going into this.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
All right. I'm going to let this breathe because I got some things to say about this.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, he brings up Cody's name multiple times when Cody isn't the person he's accusing. And I don't want people to get that twisted. He's not accusing, well, he's using Cody's name, obviously, for a reason. I'll let people decide what that reason is by doing their own research. But it's obvious he's actually talking about Billy Gunn.
Okay.
He mentioned 6'5" Hall of Famer. There's not a lot of those roaming around who are producers and higher level people in AEW. Pretty cut and dry. You name everybody but the person you're accusing. That makes me ask a whole bunch of questions. You say that people repeatedly tell you that Cody didn't like you and didn't want you working for the company. Now, maybe I'm just stupid, and maybe I'm just naive in my thinking in this. But I'm the type of person, I just need to ask that person myself, excuse me, you got a problem with me? Or ask for a meeting with that person. Never does he really allude to why Cody may not like him or is giving him this treatment. Like, there's no context to that.
Exactly.
It said, people coming up to him saying, Cody doesn't like you. Cody doesn't want you in the building when he's around. Okay, but why? Because that would be my first question. Well, why is that? And why does he keep using my work if he doesn't like me? Those would be the questions I ask.
So you wouldn't ask those questions if you already knew the answer to those questions.
I get that.
Mm-hmm. And that's that's what we're going to get to.
Right. And I'm just, in certain situations like this one in particular, like, speaking out's different to me because you're putting that out there for a whole different reason than this guy's putting it out there. People who came out with speaking out, and I'm using that example for a very specific reason, brought it to attention to other people who ignored them before they came out publicly on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing here that I'm reading that showed that Louis tried to do that. This is an interview for me. You know what I'm saying? This is something that, if this was I'm not saying genuine story, but it would carry more weight if this was reported to someone as I got a story for you. Because that's what happens in normal news.
Yeah.
I got a story for you. I'd like to sit down for an interview to tell my story, so you can properly tell it to other people. And because we only hear his side of it, and unfortunately the other part came out, which again doesn't completely discount what he's saying, but it does make you question it more. Unfortunately, that's just the reality of the situation. And that's unfortunately the world that we live in. And when we talk about stuff came out, and I know we're going to get into that a little more, usually when we find this stuff, it's like 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about like 2-3 years ago. And it's not even like softball type stuff. And like you said, it helped explain if somebody told him, he alludes that people kept telling him to delete his social media. Well, we may know why he was told to do that.
Get him, Ray.
At Cody Rhodes, July 23rd, 2018. What are the odds we can get some kind of Cody barbecue at StarCast 18 because your meat sounds delicious and I want it in my mouth? There's no pause at the end of this. So that's creepy. Even if that's creepy. Especially the one from 2012 where it says Cody Rhodes jacket makes me want to look at his wiener more than usual. So the 6'5" guy that you were talking about is not Billy Gunn. It's Diamond Dallas Page.
Okay.
Apparently he had been working with DDP on the yoga thing. And
got it. Okay.
somehow got a job with the what was the other company's name? Comeback,
Yeah.
Yes.
the
Yeah.
production company. So he got him. He gave him a second chance and got him a job with the production company. That's according to everybody what brought it up. So
Okay.
I mean, we're just
No.
it's speculation, but yeah, the 6'5" guy that they were talking about was DDP. So
Oh, that's cool.
he probably those tweets probably surfaced up, and like you said, AEW's not going to want anything to do with that fucking shit. They don't want the Lars Sullivan bullshit to hit their stage. So yeah, I can see them, making a comment, or somebody, higher up told his bosses to do it and told his direct manager, delete your shit. But
Yeah. I mean, he was told in Inception, like, "Yo, stay away from Cody." So it looks like they were kind of already aware of, and he even mentioned it in his own story, like, "Yeah, I had this interaction with Cody at All Out."
yeah, you gave him like an aggressive high five and shit like that.
Right. So it was kind of like they were already aware of his character, yet they were still trying to give him a chance because he's just a wrestling mark.
Yeah, I mean, and
And let's be real. From the stuff that he may have, well, he states he produced, the Road 2 series, and he said he did some of the Brandy series. More specifically, the Road 2 series, from an artistic standpoint, was good as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were raving about it when they first came out. So if this was the stuff he was producing, then from an artistic standpoint, you can kind of see why he, maintained employment for as long as he did.
Yeah, definitely.
But it definitely, and again, it's just, this story is disappointing to me in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want to de-victimize the person, but bookending this series of tweets with "I have COVID" rubs me the wrong way. Regardless, I'm not saying he doesn't have it or whatever case may be, but it takes away from me being able to read that story objectively. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's kind of like leading, my dog died, but let me tell you what happened at work today. It.
I mean, unfortunately, getting more and more of that because of the time that we're in, and like right now it's so serious. But like, I think we have like another 5 years of people kind of using this as an excuse for anything.
And you can kind of see, and I guess this has been out for 2 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
No one's picked this up, from what I see. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong.
There's one story that came out from the publication that we no longer credit on this podcast, and then Wrestle Talk had mentioned it, but it's not like
like a mention is one thing,
yeah,
but like covering it's another story.
It doesn't seem like it's a cover story.
Yeah,
more so it seems like it's been, quite honestly, with the way of social media, it's like it's already been tried in the court of public opinion.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I just saw it as one way or another. This was going to kind of roll and spiral.
Yeah.
In a way.
Another factor of this story that I think Louis did not consider before putting it out there is something called IP, intellectual property.
Mm-hmm.
When you work for a company, what you make is theirs. And they can do with it what they want to. When John Johnston, CFO, $, were making theme songs, it wasn't like you saw a symbol somewhere when people came out saying that was their shit. the designers who are designing these t-shirts don't have like their signature on the side. Shit, we don't know half of the producers who produce shit for these companies.
Yeah, it's always news to us when you see that there's producer credits. Like, oh, really? Oh, where?
Right. So for someone to come in any form of entertainment on the first go and expect credit for it right away, or at least the credit that it appears that he was expecting, that's naive. And especially if we get into the backstory too. Because once you put somebody's name out, they get to Google and then you find this. And just like it happened when he put the story out there.
Right.
So this again, it's just unfortunate. I can't help but feel like we've already given it more air than it deserves right now.
But there's still like lessons within there.
Oh yeah, no.
More,
I mean,
more.
from a Louis Benson standpoint, we've given it more air than it deserves. The lessons are still there. You're 100% correct about it. But
Yeah, I mean, the reality is when you are working a job, even if it's not your dream job, there is a considerable amount of dignity and I don't want to necessarily say self-respect, but like definitely dignity and integrity that you give up for that paycheck.
Especially at the ground level.
So you have to, I think now, especially in the situation that we're in, that even, you can be the best at what you do, but, if you're in the wrong industry that can't hold up to what's happening right now, it didn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
And shout out to everybody who has been resilient and has taken their time to kind of force their own path and like create their own lane in these situations, to kind of adapt to what's happening right now. Not everybody has the ability to do so. And to kind of start claiming that integrity and that self-respect and that dignity back. On a certain level, we were never supposed to give it up in the first place, but we know we get put in positions where we have to. But just kind of, going forward to be more mindful and aware of that, because I think once you realize that's what you're doing, you know what I'm saying, it'll put you in a better position to command respect, say in any situation that you're in. I don't think somebody like a Louis panders to Twitter for sympathy if he didn't give up so much self-respect and integrity for a job. It could have came off like, yeah, I said it, and what? I still want credit for what I did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he definitely didn't come at that angle.
Mm-hmm.
Might have made it worse for him because considering the situation, but still, I mean, it's just another story that kind of speaks to the bigger issue we've been talking about. This on a level as it kind of pertains to the talent, and when we're looking back at the WWE and what they're doing with like the Twitch accounts and everything like that, it's just like how much is your integrity worth? How much is your self-respect worth? Your dignity worth? Because there's definitely some people that are going to say like, hey, nah, I'm out.
Right. Exactly.
And then there's some people who are actually getting what they feel like they're worth. And the reason why we'll never see them kind of take the side, and take the side of the creator, take the side of the performer, because they're already getting their millions, and that's just the long and short of it.
And it does bring up the story Louis brings up, does bring up the question of the line between ribbing and bullying. Because one of the first things I thought of when I initially read this was thinking about Mario Ronaldo.
Yeah.
And I know that's a different circumstance. I do.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to balance mentally about perception. Now I gave you, did you read Hornswoggle's book that I gave you?
Yes.
Okay. Half that book's about ribbon.
Mm-hmm.
And something very particular that they did as a rib was something called Mr. Fuji.
Yeah.
Where they would literally take salt and throw it in random people's eyes and say, Mr. Fuji. And the shit was supposed to be funny. Until he did it to the Big Show one day. Then the shit wasn't funny.
Nope.
And we also live in a world where mental health is a topic. So where is that line? And that's what I've been thinking about pretty much all day, is where's that line, and do we have to respect it in these circumstances? Like, if you know this is the environment you walk into, do they need to change that environment because it doesn't suit you? If that makes sense.
Yeah, because I do
and there's
think
a
about
difference between ribbing and what happened to Ronaldo as well.
Right.
Right.
So then that's another thing I look at when I'm looking at AEW and like the moves that they're making. If we are to expect some sort of difference, some sort of vast difference between that and the major company, that's one thing to be concerned about when you're signing all these legends and Hall of Famers. So are they going to bring that toxicity over? Is that still considered the that standard of wrestling that you're trying to uphold? Does it include that, or are we going to kind of change it derived from that as well? So just reading this story, like I said, to me, it read like a rib.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is just something that has gone too far, and we shouldn't be doing this anymore. But at the same time, it's like, you mentioned Billy Gunn, and said Diamond Dallas Page, like, it's just something that you just have to put up with still. I'm thinking about like JR still being at the helm of announcing, and the mistakes, the quote unquote mistakes that he makes that weren't mistakes in a different time and in a different company. Like, what standard are we going to go with? Are we still going to defer to JR as being the guy, or are we going to kind of correct these things going forward? I see a willingness and like a reluctancy at the same time when it comes to JR and the things that he says on commentary. He's kind of drawn his line in the sand in terms of, I hear you, but I'm also going to do this because this is me, So it's like, how traditional do we want to keep professional wrestling going forward? Mainstream. Like I said, I still commend like the Leo Rushes and the ACHs of the world who are just like, nah, I'm not gonna,
right.
I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? And said our criticism, anybody's criticism is like, oh, they're leaving so much money on the table, but what about self-respect and dignity? That is also currency that I would argue is worth more than the US dollar. You got to think about that. Because it may get to a point where you're going to want these guys on your show and they're going to be like, nah, because of him, because of that. What adjustments are we going to make at that point, if any? Because it can be about money, and we can just continue to accuse it just to be money hungry. But if you make those statements like AEW is making and saying that we're about change, you know what I mean? This is going to be another thing we'll hold your feet to the fire to. So I think AEW may or may have dodged a bullet with this one, but
I don't know, because to be honest with you, they may not have dodged the bullet because the spotlight's going to be on them, and people are going to watch for something now.
Yeah.
Some people are, maybe not the general public, but
not to mention
there's going to be some people who are going to be like, all right, let me watch AEW slip now. And which is why I for one of the reasons you haven't heard a peep from AEW on this. Because they're not gonna even breathe any air onto this whatsoever.
I don't think they need to
keep the embers going.
I don't need to. They need to give everything attention. You know,
No,
I will respect them in that position, which is the reason why I feel like they dodged a bullet with this one. But like you're right, like it does raise attention, does raise awareness now. Now they got to be careful, because if the next complaint is legit, the next complaint doesn't come with any dirt,
right?
Then yeah, they're gonna have a problem. So I hope that even though
and one of the reasons, like you just said, they dodged this bullet is because of the. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, I hope it's still lesson learned for them, even though I feel like they don't have to really deal with this.
I think one of the reasons they dodged this bullet is because of the perception they've held to this point of being not WWE, basically.
Mm-hmm.
If this was a WWE story, many people were like, yeah, okay, we expect that shit.
Yeah.
And kind of move on. But because it was AEW, because Cody's name was all over it, it was a thing. And it's going to be a thing. Because that's the that's the corner Cody's painted himself into.
Mm-hmm.
Cody's painted himself as the golden boy of AEW from a professional standpoint.
The good guy.
Right. So that makes him a target in this kind of manner.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they had this legit, and I apologize for getting his name wrong before. If this story was about Billy Gunn, like straight out, this wouldn't be a story. It would be a story, but not to this magnitude.
Yeah.
They'd be like, Billy Gunn's being an asshole again. Or if it was about even Jericho. Jericho's, one of the GOATs, but he has his reputation for interactions with people as well. Especially if we think of this as a rib. But again, AEW's got to be careful going forward. Make sure that their house is clean, the windows are intact, and all stones are picked up.
Yeah, because if you're right, it contributed to the 850 that they did this last Wednesday. Against what? NXT 630. Yep.
I think NXT is shooting themselves in the foot, to be honest with you. NXT used to feel fresh. It no longer feels that. It no longer feels fresh. While, yes, they've sprinkled some new people in because they haven't done real call-ups lately. Like, the Undisputed Era has run their course through there for 3 years now?
Yeah.
Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano been there over that, more than that time.
So far, you just named everybody who, if they had a choice, are not going anywhere.
Correct. So.
And then you see the story today that Triple H is pushing for another NXT show.
Yeah, because he's got to make room for the people that have coming in, because you don't have anybody really going out.
Right.
I mean, and the people that are going out, they're going straight to the low card or Retribution, which, depending on your look at it, it's under the low card.
Hey, do you think Rhea Ripley was a swan song?
Yeah, I think Rhea Ripley's. To be frank with you, Rhea Ripley should have been moved from NXT after the Flair program because that was the peak. That was the peak of it. You know what I'm saying? After as hot as they made her from Survivor Series on up to that Flair moment, that was kind of like Becky and Ronda Rousey. Like, what can you do after that without doing something new? And with Ero, I mean, they got so many women in that division that haven't gotten a chance to shine. You can't, and you have no secondary titles, you know, to occupy other people with other feuds unless you make them up creatively. And you still only have a 2-hour show to do all that. You're painted into a corner. And you brought Tony Storm back. Like, Tony Storm should have definitely went to the main roster, in my opinion. But, you know, I'll leave that alone. I'm just saying, like, from a trajectory standpoint, she won the Mae Young Classic. She was the first UK champ. Well, she wasn't the first UK champ.
She was the
second UK champ. But she was like the UK star.
Right.
And, you know, then you bring her to NXT. Like, if that's where she wanted to go, that's cool. But from a trajectory standpoint, it would have made more sense if she showed up on SmackDown or Raw. You know, again, WWE's running into a problem that, I mean, AEW faces as well, where basically they have too many good bodies laying around and not enough time to do them. This is what you know, house shows used to solve, because these people used to get their time on house shows. So you didn't feel so obligated to use them everywhere else. You know what I'm saying? But now you got all these people that they can't really wrestle nowhere else but the little 5 or 6 hours of TV you got to use them on.
Okay, so while we're on women's wrestling, make it make sense that Britt Baker is going after Thunder Rosa while while poor Hikaru Shida has like nobody to play with right now.
All right. Britt Baker.
We don't have enough time. Let me stop you. We don't have enough
No.
time.
I'm going to cut this to like one sentence. I got you. 1 second. One sentence. Britt Baker, as good as she is on the mic, is AEW's attempt to make fetch happen. Okay? Britt Baker has been an attempted face of AEW's women's division since the day they announced the shit. Remember, the 3 people they announced was Britt Baker, Nyla Rose, and Kylie Ray on that first press conference.
Yep.
Nyla Rose has had an opportunity with the belt. I'm not sure why she didn't get a better opportunity, in my opinion. And Britt Baker found some traction when she turned heel and showed she could cut heel promos good. But her in-ring work is at best. They are desperately trying as much as they can to make that happen because they feel she's marketable. Until they stop learning to try to make fetch happen, that's going to be an issue. They have things that are obvious in their face, like Thunder Rosa versus Serena Deeb. They can literally run that back like almost every week and we'd be fine with it. With, throw, Sheeta in. And they got some real ladies that they've brought in and out of there. They just got to put some faith in them and put some real stuff behind it.
Right.
And stop trying to make fetch happen. That's just it. You know, they're going to use Thunder Rosa to try to put her over more. I need NWA and AEW just to admit they have a working relationship at this point.
They already did, didn't they?
No.
Billy Corgan is still saying like, oh, they're just there for a minute while we get things together. Meanwhile, almost every woman they had on the roster is now not signed with NWA.
Marty Bell being the next biggest name.
Correct. Melina's gone. Marty Bell's gone.
So let me ask you.
Sienna's gone.
So if you're saying that, wouldn't it make sense for them just to make a deal, just to acquire the rest of the talent and make that NWA women's belt the secondary belt? Or it feels like it's a prominent belt on AEW right now.
Yes,
right.
That would make sense. But that would be Billy Corgan admitting that he gave it, that NWA is over too.
I mean, it's not exactly like he's flush with cash right now, considering that company's bleeding right now.
Correct. All that is true.
Feel bad. Billy's a shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shitty situation.
Yeah, I mean, the pandemic.
I mean,
not everybody's going to survive.
In terms of, you know, fandom and wanting, you know, the companies to work, Billy's no different than Tony.
Oh, absolutely.
Save for, you know, a few billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just believe
of $100 million.
I have to believe at this point, based on everything else that's happened in wrestling, if NWA was going to come back, it would have already. You could tell me you're taking your time to do this all you want.
Yeah.
But you literally had a studio show and all you had to do was like not show the fans. And you could have ran that whole show without it. And again, I know losing Lagana is a big lose, especially if you're Billy Corgan and you're not a wrestling show producer. I mean, that's not your thing. But in this climate, I'm finding it hard to believe it would take you 8 months to find somebody to at least put a show on.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to think at this point, Tony needs to sit in a room with Billy Corgan with a tall glass of hard stuff and a checkbook.
Or Tony's doing the shrewd businessman and letting him bleed out until he has no choice but to accept an offer.
I mean, either one is very probable. But the longer it happens, the value withers on the belts.
Yeah.
Especially if it's being presented as a secondary belt on AEW right now. Because wasn't it competed on Dark?
Last week it was on actual Dynamite, but it was the pre-show match to Full Gear, and the match before that was on Dark. Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, whatever deal Billy has going with it, he's not getting the best end of it, if that's the case. I mean, yes, basically the people that are wrestling in the ring, they're the ones making that a bigger thing than it actually is. It's not the belt. It's Thunder Rosa and Sierra Deeb and the people that are wrestling in those matches. You could have put a Coca-Cola label on it, and it'd still be a good match, and people want to see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and please go out your way to watch that match that was on Dynamite last week. I don't know how you can do it.
Yeah, they locked that down pretty hard, and that's something I got to give AEW credit for, that it hasn't bite them in the ass yet. That you really can't find clips of the show until sometime later. But somehow that is a thing.
AEW on a streaming service. How do you see that happening?
HBO Max. Or does TNT have their own streaming service yet?
They have their app. But you got to sign in with your cable provider.
Okay.
The only time they show any free stuff is once in a while. It's a NBA game. It's a one-off.
Yeah.
And it's usually during the playoffs. So,
But if I'm vaguely correct, there were a couple of banners on the commentaries table. I think this was a couple months ago when HBO Max first came out.
I remember
HBO
that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
That's what led me to believe at some point HBO Max would serve as their backup streaming service like Hulu did forever for WWE. But I mean, and that could still happen. I mean, there's still plenty of time for that. And who owns TNT now? Is it Warner?
I thought it was Warner.
And who are they in bed with?
Give me a second. I'll pull it up for you. Warner Media, Turner Broadcasting. That's all. They're under HBO.
Oh.
HBO owns TNT.
So I guess if you're thinking about streaming services, that's just a matter of time, I guess, then.
They can go ahead and pull the trigger on it because I know people are asking for it. There's no,
Yeah.
The way we condition our wrestling fan today, like, yeah, you get, it's in the ones that are going to catch it live, but we want to watch it at our leisure.
Or at least, like you said, go back and watch old matches.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand their thought process if they're thinking like the library isn't there yet for it, which, you don't want to just put out a certain amount of content. Now, if Tony Khan had which he is a smart man, if you could buy the NWA, there's a catalog.
Mm-hmm.
There's a catalog. People would be very interested in viewing. So that's something to consider as well. Oh yeah, Animaniacs came back today.
Sure did.
Sweet. Speaking of AEW, I read a story that was very interesting. It's very short. Full Gear was 2 weekends ago. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. At Full Gear, Darby Allin won the TNT Championship. In an interview with Busted Open today, he admitted he slept in his car in a parking lot for 2 days before the event because he wanted to feel what it was like to be in that space again before that match.
Interesting.
If you ever see an interview with Darby Allin, it's interesting in its standpoint because he's a very introverted man at nature. So trying to see like Dave and Mark interview this cat or hear it, I didn't see it. I'm in a car. Is very interesting because they're trying their best not to make him uncomfortable. By seeming too excited, but
is that elusiveness that contributes a lot to making Darby a star?
Yeah, that I insist on being humble,
but you're a star now, and sooner or later that character's got to evolve as well. So, this is actually surprising to me as much as Darby is more or less due. It's actually surprising to me that they put a belt on somebody who doesn't cut promos.
You know what?
You can argue that his character at this point in time doesn't need to. But I kind of feel like when you're the champion of a company and you're on television, that there's some things that need to happen outside of those 2 hours that you're on television, or your portion of those 2 hours that you're on television, to rep the company and rep the brand, and especially if you are the quote unquote television champion. This is definitely, to me, fan service. So it'd be interesting to see how long this lasts.
This is what I think they've done smartly with Darby Allin. They have creatively turned Darby Allin into the mix between Jeff Hardy and late 90s Sting.
Mm-hmm.
They have given, the whole weight, being up in the stands, brooding, like Sting.
Right.
But in the ring, allow him to absolutely, beat Jeff Hardy, basically. And for him to have the secondary belt helps too, because that's considered a workman's belt. So
right.
If you bust your ass and you're out there every week doing so, that limits the need for a promo.
Right.
Somebody calls you out, you come out, all right, let's fight. You don't really need to say anything after that point.
It definitely works for his character for now.
Yeah, for now. Yeah, I do agree with you that it will be a challenge for it to be a long-term thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking like past 3 months or something like that. Because it will require the person that he's fighting to carry the builds up to that.
Right.
Which is different from, and this is why it's so interesting, because that flips the narrative to where it was with Cody. Because Cody was the one carrying most of that weight when he was champion.
Mm-hmm.
Pumping up Warhorse, the people that he's breeding out, pumping them up, before actually breeding out there. You know what I'm saying? So that the pressure wasn't on them to cut the promo, until Eddie Kingston walked out, and then, whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
Whatever.
There you go.
But it literally, by changing that belt from Cody to Darby Allin, that flips that on its head, because now you got a guy, like you said, doesn't cut promos or doesn't do them in a way that you would think a champion does. And that's just a testament to, again, AEW throwing spaghetti against the wall and just continuing to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there's other places within AEW where they need to do it more. Obviously, in my opinion, the top of the card and the women's division. I love Jon Moxley as champion. I do. But Jon Moxley as champion is starting to become Becky Lynch as champion.
Yeah.
Where, I'm not paying attention to that part of the show anymore, because I feel like I've watched that part of the show already. I like what they did with Eddie Kingston, but, I feel like Omega's the change that needs to be made on December 2nd. Because there has to be a different feel at the top of the card than there is now. And like you said, like you teased in your outline, does this mean at some point, Mr. Moxley takes some time off? I mean, we don't know. No one's happily said how far along is she, have they?
No.
Yeah, but no, I was just more concerned about, are we definitely seeing this title change happen? And I mean, I think you're speaking to the points of why it needs to happen now. You can't really say that. You can argue that he deserves to be that number one wrestler on the PWI list, but you can't really speak much to his reign in terms of being exciting in comparison to other world champions during this COVID era. I mean, it's not fair to any of them. I think he's the most respected one. But at the same time, it's kind of like I said, like you said, it's the part of the show that you're not really checking for.
And I think another thing to bear in mind is no crowd. Moxley's reign would have more weight with a crowd.
Yeah. Well, at least we'll be
Like
able to take.
imagine if Stone Cold didn't have a crowd.
Yeah, none of that works.
That's what I think of John Moxley right now.
Right. That's at the very least you'll be able to take. You'll be able to take the proper temperature of it. You know.
Mm-hmm. Right. He would feed off that, and the crowd would feed off his. That's not happening. I mean, even this Eddie Kingston feud, like, I give them a massive amount of credit for being able to pull it off in a way seemingly almost out of nowhere, where we were somewhat pretty much invested in it. But now, like I said, now we're back to Omega, and I don't see how they can make it make sense for him to be Omega, and it doesn't elevate either. It doesn't elevate him to be Omega again. It just hurts Kenny more than it will elevate Moxley, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Perfect.
Especially how long they've built Omega to this point. It's different when it was Hangman, because they're building. You could tell they're still building to something very long term with Hangman Page. So they have to knock him down low to bring him up as a sympathetic champion, which still could happen at some point.
So, one last question, and we should probably wrap. From Moxley to Kenny, and then from Kenny to possibly Hangman, we're still blonde to blonde to blonde. When do we see some diversity at the top of the card?
The reason I bang my head against this because I don't see it happening in any near future. And I know everything's about opportunity. But because there's no crowd, without a crowd, you can't have a Kofi. Without a crowd, you can't have a Daniel Bryan.
Right.
You can't build somebody from a lower position without that crowd response.
Yeah, because without the crowd, you can't really tell who the people are really kind of checking for.
Correct. And now, yes, they have, I think they said 1,500 people in Daly's Place now. And yes, you could judge the temperature in a room, but that's the equivalent of those stupid temperature guns that you get waved when you walk into a restaurant right now. For those who don't know, those things are about as effective as water to brush your teeth. I don't know what to say.
Let's get back to this question, because aside from the crowd, I mean, you can even go up to AEW's rankings. Like, do you have anybody that you can put in that conversation?
You don't,
and you're not going to.
Correct.
It's wrestling.
And that's why I said it's. But that's why I said the crowd in certain situations.
No, it's But it's different with. I don't know. I think you're. I think maybe I'm just taking it in a different way. It's like, man, it's wrestling. They don't give a fuck. They don't.
Who doesn't give a fuck? Who doesn't care?
Wrestling in general.
I think wrestling
I
cares.
no,
I
I
think,
get what Ray's saying. So
You know
yeah, I
what?
like,
mean, I think in general, like,
We're not.
there's not a call for it.
They're not clamoring for Scorpio Sky to be at the top of their division.
Correct.
They're not. I mean, at one point he was wrestling Jericho, and we were crediting Jericho for putting him over, and then Scorpio Sky ended up becoming like a quick moniker of
Went to dark forever.
AEW Dark. I'm like,
Yeah.
No, it's just
And that's why I said, like, you're not going to get it. Like we said, like Rod always says, attention is currency. Until people want it and voice in some way, shape, or form that they want it, it's not going to change.
that's we've continued to have these conversations, right?
Yeah.
Clamoring. We've been to those AEW crowds.
Mm-hmm. Well, even the WWE crowds, even the freelance crowds, it's the same crowd.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Wrestling crowds in general. You're talking about clamoring. I see 7 guys on the men's rankings, and it seems like, yep, that's par for the course.
well, I look to any wrestling company, and I guess in a sense you'll probably have to credit our Ring of Honor.
Yeah,
for being the most consistent in terms of putting, just different colors at the top of that card.
Including Impact as well. They have diversity amongst their titles as well.
You have to, and I get. Here's the thing, like Ray's right. Like wrestling in general is not really clamoring for it. You kind of have to make that decision to, just like last week when I chastise AEW once again for the women's division and making a commitment to, saying actually pushing that women's division, letting them get that time in. The same thing with, if you want to create a diverse environment at the top of these cards and, to be kind of faces of your company, you kind of have to make that decision ahead of time to say, hey, we're going to commit to this. And not necessarily give somebody who doesn't deserve an opportunity or may not be, as experienced, because that's the nature of the game. It's because nobody thinks of black or brown champions that they're not given these opportunities and they stay green. So somebody has to make the decision to say, hey, we're going to work with this person and get them to that speed. I want to say, when I look at Will Hobbs, like they're making a decision that's going to pay off later, years later, but later. But you definitely have to make that, because another thing is going to be that, well, is it fair to kind of put somebody over somebody else who, has more experience and deserves it or whatever. But that's the part that also needs to kind of be removed from your thinking in terms of, it's because it's not been fair for certain people. So you got to make that quote unquote unfair decision to say, hey, we're going to focus on this, because that person can go to any company and be here, be there. You know what I mean? Like we did what we needed to do. For example, with John Moxley. John Moxley was the hottest commodity. Like let's not even take that away from him. And for him to kind of come into AEW when he did, and to get the championship when he did. Chris Jericho, once again, the hottest commodity. You know what I'm saying? Coming in, of course, you put the championship on him first. Absolutely. So that's just best for business.
It's smart business.
But once you get to a point where, okay, we're going to survive, we're going to make it. Now it's the time to say, hey, and in this scenario, I'm only using AEW as an example. I'm not really kind of holding their feet to the fire in this, because I do see some foresight on their end as it's concerned with the men's division. But I mean, in general, with any company, like you got to start making these decisions. Like something needs to change, and we need to make that extra effort to change it now, so that we can have a future that looks more diverse than it is. a couple weeks ago, I kind of gave credit to New Japan because they're hosting another tournament, and ACH is on there, and um, um, what's the other guy?
Leo Rush.
Yeah,
Leo
Leo Rush
Rush
is on there, and yeah, it was very colorful. That's something that's kind of outside of their realm as well. So I had to kind of tip the cap to them. You did have one of your top stars, sell a shirt and give 100% of his proceeds to Black Lives Matter.
Shout out Jay White.
I am happy that they took notice of that.
And it helps that you've also, with all the complaints of the former head, now that you guys got somebody else in there. Like you said, it may just be a change from the top.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's just we'll call it a minor call to action because I do see the changes. It's just going to take some time, but I just want to kind of throw that question out there because it seems like what makes sense right now in terms of AEW is Moxley to Kenny and then eventually to Hangman Page.
Yeah, I mean, in a roundabout circle fashion.
And those are not the wrong decisions. Those are pretty much the right decisions based upon who deserves it, quote unquote, and the stories that you've been building in this company since inception. Those are the right decisions. But I hope that while you're doing this and you have these long-term storylines that are going to turn out amazing, that the next thing on the horizon is, somebody who fits a different mode.
Yeah, because I mean, one thing that's definitely evident, and this is both in WWE and AEW, is that most of its diversity is in its tag team division.
Mm-hmm.
And I do hope that changes. I just, as much as I hope it, am I confident that it will happen? No. Just because of the history of wrestling.
Yeah, that's the way we condition ourselves to think and hope.
Until someone does it, I'm only going to hope for it. Kind of like what Kofi happened. I mean, real talk. I mean, you guys were there when we saw it. I didn't think Kofi was winning that match for all of those reasons. It took them actually pulling the trigger for me to believe that it was going to happen.
And we'd be.
I mean, because you got to think
the reaction.
Tony Khan. Khan's an NFL owner. We know how much they love about Black Lives Matter. I mean, let's not let that point be missed.
Go ahead, Ray.
It's just wrestling being wrestling to me, quite honestly. It's just been the same thing, and I'm gonna stay true to what I said. I was gonna hold them accountable for what they said. Talk about diversity, talk about a women's division, and here it is, almost 2 years later, and we're still talking about the same fucking thing. I'm sorry. It's you want to promise people new things, but still give us the same old shit. So it's like cool that they're making little moves here and there, but like I said, I wait with bated breath on situations like this because it's like, all right, who are you gonna bring in next? It is what it is. It is what it is.
Any final thoughts on the extras?
No, sir.
They finally put Sasha Banks and Asuka in a ring before Sunday, and here comes Carmella out of nowhere. So yay! Let's just turn a Survivor Series into a
so
triple
awful
match.
Oh, Carmella's gimmick is so awful.
It's okay. She's blonde. That's fine.
It's okay. She's blonde. She checks the box. Well, she checks the box for me because she rocks the best Jordans outside of Shane McMahon.
She doesn't rock Jordans anymore, though.
She's rocking ones right now.
Oh, she is now? Okay. The last couple of weeks, she's worn boots. That's what I'm saying.
Those are well, I mean, she had to I mean, it's always with the outfit, but she's always got these J's that match the outfit. I'm like, these are some red ones, it looks like. I'm cool with it. But the fact that they had her in red and Sasha in blue, looks like the Crips and Bloods going at it. So we have that. Yeah, I'm just I are you guys gonna watch Survivor Series?
Probably not. I mean, I'm not gonna go on my way
Yeah.
to watch it.
Like I'll tell you this, and this is, we're gonna talk about more of this in the next episode. 2020 has been an interesting year where I have followed wrestling, but I haven't watched wrestling consistently throughout the year, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I mean,
No, that's what this
You
year.
know, I haven't, on Wednesdays, I don't make it a point to run home and watch either show, or Monday, I don't do so. And Friday, obviously, SmackDown is on, and I am at my desk shooting, recording a podcast, not watching SmackDown. And when pay-per-views happen, I watch them as I'm eating dinner with my family. And as I get tired, I was like, all right, I'll start getting my stuff ready for work the next day. I hold that to kind of just the topic we just talked about for a sense. While I appreciate what wrestling has done to stay relevant in 2020, I'll just leave this tease. Is there anything to be remembered in 2020 for wrestling that isn't COVID related?
Yeah, definitely hold that thought. We'll talk about that on episode 100. Which is pretty much going to be our year roundup show. Because it would have been after Survivor Series, and there's really nothing else major happening this year. So next week, or next time we record this episode 100, not going to be next week, right? It's not going to be next week.
No, I think we skip.
Not especially.
We take a holiday week.
Yeah.
I believe these fucking kids got 3 days off this week.
Who do?
The kids, they got Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday off this year.
So they're finna have all these days off in a minute.
Yo, I got some time off I need to take. I might take Wednesday off. Just plant myself in front of this. It's fantastic TV that's going to take my eyesight. If you guys want to come over and play, I would suggest stopping by Home Depot and getting a hazmat suit. And then, I got extra controllers and sanitizers.
Well, I hope next week you guys enjoy your turkey day.
Same to you guys and your families. This sucks that we can't spend time together because I'm pretty sure we would have recorded a holiday drunk podcast with the turkey leg like we did for what was that? Well, it just popped up. It was Survivor
Series. Yeah,
it was Survivor Series.
Things are fucking huge. But bless you and your families. We'll hope to we get to see each other soon, and then we'll catch up on a lot of wrestling this week.
Oh, I didn't realize Sasha Banks had like literally the Crip rag.
Yeah, no, I was being dead ass serious when I said that. And then they put it with the little handkerchief print. I was like, oh, congratulations.
Oh Lord, damn Snoop.
Right. Yeah, let's leave on that note. Snoop Dogg collaboration with The Undertaker on merchandise. Y'all really tell me he don't need the money? Like,
I mean, if there's a dollar to be made.
No, I believe that he needs the money. It's surprising to me that he needs the money. That's what I'm saying. Because he stopped like balling. Like I don't see. Usually you see where the money went.
Right.
But with Undertaker, you don't see where the money went. That's how you say.
You know how much the upkeep is to have that many acres of land just to sit there and just roam around as a dead man? That's a lot of money.
Boy.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
And on that note, the wise men would like to wish you guys a happy Turkey Day, and hopefully you'll join us back in a couple weeks for episode 100, where we will do our year in review. We'll do some different awards other than the typical ones. I have some specific questions I want to ask you guys in terms of how this year went and what you guys really paid attention to. But with that being said, this podcast will and forever be for the culture. Realize that you do vote with your dollars. Your attention is currency. And even if you are a mark, leave a positive mark on his life. Gobble, gobble.
Is it bad that I'm about to close this saying that I don't even want turkey on Thanksgiving?
Turkey is trash.
I'm not having
we'll
turkey
talk
on
about it.
Thanksgiving.
Trash.
You're lucky. Turkey is
I'm not
trash, yo.
Give me a honey baked ham.
Yo,
Cool.
me and Emily convinced Sonia that we are catering La Bamba for Thanksgiving.
Oh, nice.
I might.
Like we had for Alejandro's party.
Oh, yeah.
We just did like a very condensed version of that order.
Or you can do it and still have leftovers for a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
That's also the plan. So.
Shit, we might just do the Italian beef thing again like we did last year.
Smart man.
All right. Love you guys. Take care.
All right, take it easy.
All right, sir.